Good morning, Jungle Jamboree. As the sun popped up like a bright orange lollipop over the treetops, the whole jungle began to wake up. Birds stretched their wings, flowers yawned open, and somewhere deep among the rustling leaves, a very special, very loud, very enthusiastic green parrot named Pico was already, you guessed it, singing at the very top of his voice. Pico's nest sat right at the tallest point of the jungle, decorated with everything shiny and bright he could find. He had ribbons, buttons, and even a tiny wind chime made of old spoons. Every single morning, Pico sang 3 songs before breakfast. It was his favorite ritual. Today, though, something was different. Tucked under his favorite ribbon was a tiny, glowing golden seed he had never seen before. Pico tilted his head left, then right, then so far to the left again that he nearly fell off his perch. The seed glimmered and hummed with a faint, warm buzzing sound, almost like a tiny lullaby hidden inside a shell. Pico had found many strange things in his years of jungle exploring, but a seed that hummed, that was completely new. He just had to know what it did. He opened his beak and sang one small note right at it. The moment Pico's note touched the seed, it exploded with golden sparkles. Suddenly, every word of his song began to take shape. Actual mangoes, bananas, and papayas popped into existence right out of thin air, raining down from the sky in a spectacular fruity shower. Pico gasped, stared, and then, because Pico was Pico, immediately started singing louder. More fruit appeared. Lots more. A whole waterfall of tropical fruit tumbling through the jungle. Down below, Mango the monkey had been happily hunting for breakfast, nose twitching at every promising smell. He had just spotted the perfect bunch of berries when, bonk, a large mango dropped directly onto his head, followed immediately by 2 bananas and a very round papaya. Mango sat up, stars spinning around his head, then looked at the enormous pile of fruit surrounding him. His eyes went wide. His tail curled with excitement. This was the greatest morning of his entire life. Still giddy from his fruit miracle, Pico decided to test the golden seed again with a cheerful song about sunshine and flowers. The seed pulsed brightly, and instantly the entire jungle lit up with enormous glowing sunflowers, each one taller than a giraffe, sprouting up everywhere at rocket speed. Flowers burst through the ground with loud cartoon boing sounds. Pico clapped his wings together, shrieking with delight. He had absolutely no idea this was going to become a very big problem, very fast. Mango had barely finished his 3rd mango when an enormous sunflower burst directly through the ground right beside him, launching his fruit pile into the air. He looked left, sunflowers. He looked right, more sunflowers. Behind him, another sunflower. Mango grabbed his tail in both hands, stared upward at Pico's tree, and began sprinting as fast as his little legs could carry him through the increasingly crowded jungle, shouting, "Pico! Pico! What is happening?" At the very heart of the jungle stood old Baobab, the oldest, wisest tree anyone had ever met. He had been dozing peacefully for 3 days straight, which was rather normal for a several hundred-year-old tree. But the ground shaking from sprouting sunflowers and the distant sounds of fruity explosions nudged him awake. His bark face scrunched, his eyebrow roots wiggled, and one enormous wooden eye creaked open. "HMMMM," rumbled old Baobab. "Someone has found the Singalong seed. Oh dear indeed." Pico was absolutely loving his new magical ability. He hopped from foot to foot, ruffled his rainbow-tipped wings, and launched into a breezy little song about rain clouds, just because the tune popped into his head. The golden seed blazed brighter than ever. Within seconds, a dozen enormous purple cartoon storm clouds crowded around Pico's treetop and unleashed a torrent of bright blue raindrops. Except these raindrops bounced like rubber balls, pinging off every branch and leaf with comedic boing sounds. Mango skidded to a stop at the base of Pico's tree, panting heavily, just in time to be absolutely pelted by a shower of bouncing blue raindrops. Each one hit him with a cheerful boing, sending him spinning in circles. He wiped his face, looked up. and spotted Pico happily singing away in his nest above. "Pico," Mango hollered, waving both arms frantically. "Stop singing. Everything you sing is coming true, and the jungle is going absolutely bananas, literally." Pico peered down at Mango and blinked. He looked around at the floating fruit, the bouncing rainstorm, the giant sunflowers filling every inch of the jungle, and suddenly, for the very first time, realized that perhaps things had gotten slightly out of hand. He decided firmly to stop singing immediately. He closed his beak. Silence. He breathed a sigh of relief, then hiccuped loudly. And the hiccup came out as a tiny song note. The golden seed glowed instantly. A giant pineapple appeared. Through the maze of giant sunflowers, bouncing raindrops, and cascading tropical fruit, Lulu the lavender elephant walked with perfect calm, stepping gracefully over pineapples and ducking gently under low-hanging bananas. She found Mango at the base of Pico's tree, wringing water from his enormous ears. Lulu patted him gently with her trunk. "Something extraordinary is happening," she said in her gentle rhyming way. "A magical sound makes things appear all around. We must find what enchants it, before it's too much." Mango scrambled up the tree in 3 seconds flat, Lulu gracefully extending her trunk as a ladder for herself. They crowded around Pico's tiny nest, staring at the glowing golden seed in the middle of it all. Pico explained everything in a hushed whisper, which immediately slipped into a melodic murmur, which immediately caused 3 rubber ducks to appear from nowhere and float past them on a tiny river that hadn't existed 10 seconds ago. Everyone stared at the ducks, then at Pico, then back at the ducks. Old Baobab's eyes were both open and twinkling by the time the 3 friends burst into his clearing, slightly breathless and covered in confetti and bouncing blue raindrops. He rumbled a low, warm laugh that shook his roots. "Ocha," he said, his bark face crinkling into a broad smile. "Young Pico has found the Singalonga seed. I see. I wondered when that little troublemaker would turn up again. I hid it 300 years ago after it turned the entire jungle into a giant singing salad." Mango raised his hand urgently. "That is a wonderful story, but the jungle currently has a rubber duck river, 40 sunflowers the size of buildings, and frankly too much pineapple. So how do we stop the seed?" Old Baobab's eyebrow roots wiggled thoughtfully. "The seed," he explained slowly, "can only be deactivated by a song sung by 3 voices together in perfect harmony, all at once, all on the same note, all holding it for 10 full counts. The magic cancels itself out when friendship sings as one." Back at Pico's treetop, the 3 friends positioned themselves around the golden seed. "On 3, said Lulu. 1, 2, 3. Pico sang a perfect high note. Mango sang a completely different low note, the first one that popped into his head. Lulu's gentle hum was somewhere in the middle. The 3 notes crashed together, and instead of cancelling anything out, the seed turned bright purple and produced one enormous inflatable bouncy castle directly in the treetop. It bounced all 3 of them away like ping-pong balls. Old Baobab hummed a single warm note to guide them. Lulu matched it instantly, perfect and pure, like a gentle bell. Mango stuck out his tongue in concentration, listened very hard, and slowly curved his voice up to meet Lulu's. Then Pico, wings folded, eyes closed, breathing slowly for the first time all morning, added his voice to theirs. The 3 notes hovered in the air, shimmering. Old Baobab's roots trembled with warmth. "Yes," he whispered. "That is it. That is the note." Hold it. Remember it. Now go. They climbed back up to Pico's nest together, the golden seed pulsing more frantically than ever, creating small random objects every few seconds. A teapot, a sock, a small confused tortoise wearing a party hat. Mango placed both hands over his ears during the climb up, humming their notes silently inside his head so he wouldn't forget it. All three stood around the glowing seed. They counted together, 1, 2, 3, and all three opened their mouths simultaneously, releasing the same single perfect note into the jungle air. The combined note rang out like a glorious bell through every corner of the jungle. The golden seed flared brilliant white, then went completely dark and ordinary with a quiet little click. And then, like magic running in reverse, everything began to gently dissolve. The giant sunflowers shrunk back into the ground with soft boing sounds. The bouncing raindrops evaporated with cheerful pops. The rubber duck river flowed backward and vanished, and even the bouncy castle slowly deflated with a long, dramatic wheeze. The jungle was itself again, peaceful, green, and perfectly normal. The three friends cheered and hugged, bouncing with joy in the nest until it wobbled dangerously. Old Baobab's warm laugh rolled across the jungle like a gentle thunder. "Well sung, young ones," he rumbled proudly. Pico looked at the now ordinary little seed in his wing, small, brown, and perfectly quiet. He placed it gently into old Baobab's roots for safekeeping. Then, because he absolutely could not help himself, Pico sang one small happy song, completely magic-free and completely wonderful. And all three friends sang along. The jungle smiled.